All right, we're now in the top three of our running backs list heading into the 2024 college football season. And that number three is Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, we actually talked to Mac Brown, North Carolina's head coach, a couple months ago. If you want to check out that interview, which is on our channel, we talked about Omarion Hampton, and he said, man, our defensive backs hate tackling Omarion Hampton in practice, and I think everyone in America probably hates tackling Omarion Hampton too, man.
I totally agree. And I mean, there's two big reasons for it. And there's a reason he led the nation in yards after contact last year. Look, he's big and strong at 220 pounds, and he's really, really fast. He's the second fastest returning back in college football behind Ollie Gordon. You got a guy at 220 who can hit 23 miles an hour. That's dangerous.
Terrifying.
I mean, it's just really dangerous. His stiff arm is nasty. He's an absolute machine back there. And he just, I tell you what, you get a guy with that combination of things. We've seen it with certain backs before. I always go back to Derek. When the king of big and fast is Derrick Henry, right? And obviously Hampton's not quite as big as Henry, but it's a similar element. You just got a guy when he, I think until I went back and watched him a second time now, I didn't realize how fast he was. He's blazing at 220 pounds. You can see why Mac Brown says that. They might have to put the red jersey on him during practice so he doesn't get his defensive guys killed, honestly. But you can see it. It all sticks out on tape. And he's big, he's fast, he's feisty. The stiff arm's nasty. There is some shape to him. Hampton's got in just a classic running back. Man, you almost feel like he could play in any era. Like he's got everything. Yeah. He really does. There is not a ton of flaws with him. And 1,500 yard season last year. Even with Drake May still in the fold last year, but some of the struggles they had at receiver, there were stretches of games where Omarion Hampton was the engine of the offense, not Drake May. And they were at their best when they had balance. He's a beast, man. There's no other way to put it. I think there's times when it's, we talked earlier in these rankings about TreVeyon Henderson and the sledgehammer factor. He's a bit like Henderson, but he's faster. And it's crazy to watch a guy his size hit 23 miles an hour. It's nuts. I think Hampton is as safe a bet as anyone on this list to have another big time season after he already had a 1,500 yard rushing season last year.
Dude, so funny enough, when we finally got access to the PFF gas metric, which is the game athleticism score, which can tell you exactly how fast a player is, their elusiveness and change of direction, but just basically how athletic a player is on the field, which is really, really valuable tool that, again, we'll be using a lot this upcoming season. But when we finally got access to it, I was checking out the top running backs, and I saw the top speed, and I saw Omarion Hampton like in the top 5, and I was like, that's got to be a typo. There's no way Omarion Hampton was like that fast. I always thought about him as kind of like a Taj Brooks, a little bit lighter than Taj Brooks. He's just a bruising running back, just gonna hammer you in the hole. Not a great at breaking away downfield for big runs, but I think that Omarion Hampton, that's what I thought he was. And then I watched him his runs, dude, and he was incredibly fast. I was a lot faster than I even remembered him. I was like, oh my God, maybe he is that fast. And obviously the tracking data, he is at over 23 miles an hour. So only one running back that we'll talk about who was faster than him last year is the number one guy on our list, who we'll talk about in a little bit, which is Ollie Gordon at Oklahoma State. But yeah, man, it's crazy. 1,072 yards after contact last year. Also, North Carolina, 101st in run blocking grade last year too. This guy was working for every single yard that he was getting last year. So was really, really good. Like I said, over 1,000 yards after contact. I believe he's the only running back in America with over 1,000 yards after contact. We'll have to check that in a little bit, but great running back, man. And he's a really good receiver out of the backfield too. 222 receiving yards this past season. 0 drops as well, which is really impressive because of good hands out of the backfield too. So I'm a big fan of Omarion Hampton. You texted me earlier, Dalton, that you think the two guys that are hard to find weaknesses for are Omarion Hampton and Ashton Jeanty. Was there anything that you saw on his tape that you think could be improved, or is he just that complete of a player?
Man, he's really darn good. He's probably such a safe bet to stay inside this top 5 throughout the whole season. And I just think, to me, I look more so if we're talking about 2024 production with this list. I have a team with, and I like Max Johnson, and we'll see maybe what Connor Harrell has to offer them at quarterback too. But you've got a downgrade in the passing game. You lose Drake May, you lose Tez Walker, right? And then you've got a team that was 101st in the country last year in run blocking grade, right? So you're talking about, I think, with Hampton's production, about surrounding factors, and he's going to be even more of the engine to this offense because now he has to be. Right now, it has to be we win games first and foremost with Omarion Hampton. So as far as this game, you got a guy that size that can move like that and break tackles like that, yards after contact. Again, with a lot of these backs, other than maybe the Ohio State guys, I do worry about, okay, what do we look like late in the season? What do we look like if we get worn down? But I think between Ginty and Hampton on this list, I don't see a whole lot to nitpick. Honestly, you mentioned the fumbles with Ginty, but Hampton, the more I watch him, I'm like, man, that's an animal, and I was expecting to go back again and see something like another former Tar Heel like Javonte Williams, and it's just not. He's got a different gear looking back at him a second time that I thought he had. He's a top 50 prospect heading into this year because it's clean, man. At his size and speed, you don't pass that up.
No, and I think the one thing, again, like Ginty, is the fumbles. He did have a fumble issue over the last 2 years of college. He has 5 fumbles in his career, 3 this past season. 5 fumbles in his career, though, which is good for a 1.3% rate, which is in the 20th percentile for running back. So, again, holding onto the football a little bit more is going to be a key emphasis for him, I think, this year, as it is for Ashton Ginty. But that's really it, man, because there really isn't too much else to nitpick there with Omarion Hampton. So, clean up the fumbles a little bit. And yeah, he will be relied on a lot, which is kind of a little alarming when you think about his 2024 and how many touches he could get in that offense, especially when you're projecting to the NFL, because obviously you don't want to get guys too worn down as they head into the NFL. But on field, though, really, besides the fumbles, there really isn't too much to gripe about with Omarion Hampton. So he is our number 3 running back in college football heading into the 2024 season. Stay tuned for our number 2 and our number 1 guys that are coming out very soon.